Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are here for Love is Blind UK. Now, this is my first time reviewing Love is Blind UK. I have done the Love is Blind US previously, and I'm very, very, very excited for the announcement that there's going to be a Love is Blind Canada. But please bear with me as we learn some of the quirks, some of the differences possibly in Love is Blind UK. I am super excited, but maybe also fresh new take. Let's jump in. First off, one of my initial impressions is that the female lead host, Emma, really gives me like Portia de Rossi vibes. I don't know if it's like the eyes, maybe it's the hair. Have you ever watched Arrested Development? She's the sister. Am I dating myself? She really gives me some like brunette Portia de Rossi vibes. I don't know why. I don't know. She's absolutely hilarious. It's 100% a compliment, but absolutely love her. And I from the beginning, again, we're not deep into the show or anything yet. But from the beginning, I'm really enjoying having new hosts because I find they're so far not as cringe as the Lachey's. I don't know, maybe it's just overconsumption of Lachey content with so many seasons of Love is Blind US, but I love the fresh perspective of the new cast, of the new hosts, I should say. I like how they don't have the long, corny conversation in the pods with the men and women and how they just kind of jump right in. They don't have the introspection in a room full of people. We always seem to have that in the North America version. I like that they get straight to business in the UK version. And right off the bat, we are introduced to Jack. He's a 30-year-old chef. And he is talking about how like it's such a small dating pool and everybody knows everybody. And I think that that's something that in North America especially, we really underestimate. The UK is so tiny and everything's so squished together, whereas in North America, we're spread out so wide. Everybody would constantly be on top of everybody, whereas even in big cities, how like pool seems to be pretty small. There when you are going to other places, it can take you hours to drive to the next city over. And I know for us, for example, I am Canadian, but a lot of times we used to like drive down to the States for big events. If you're in Vancouver, you would drive down to like Seattle, for example. And so those you have to drive so far and you have to travel so far. So when you are going down there and you are meeting people, it would be like a totally separate pool. Whereas I could see if you were all kind of on top of each other, if everything's so much smaller, I think the UK would definitely fit into one of our provinces up here. It's just it's so much smaller while our cities like, still feel small. Like you could go to a different city in the same country and it is a completely different scene. So I could see like having a smaller landmass would kind of shrink that dating pool and it would be harder and harder to be able to like out of your circle of friends to find somebody that you don't know to date somebody like outside your circle. I could see that.
You could take a girl for a walk on a remote beach and you bump into someone's mum.
We are also going to love on Jack for just a minute longer because I love somebody who is self-aware and can be honest right from the start. Don't lead people on. Don't go and try to turn something into something you're not just out of fear of missing out. You know what I mean? Love that for him. Love that for us.
Do.
Feel like we're on different pages here.
I respect the honesty, but I agree with you.
Granted, in hindsight, I can also admit that it could be that they are getting a good edit and that he is maybe not quite as endearing in person or in the pods as he might be coming off in this quick montage.
I'm all right on you, babe. Don't worry.
So Jack's first date is with a lady named Faye, and he seems to just adore her voice. They seem to really be connecting. They both want to be like their partner's best friends. They find friendship so important. They want to be able to laugh together. They want to be able to be goofy. And they really seem to kind of relax with each other right away. Their date ends with a declaration of love, and we go on to the next.
I'm gonna be dreaming about you later. Love you, bye.
Next, we follow Jack in to meet Sierra, and she is a 29-year-old Pilates instructor. I had a thought when this is happening because I know that they chop it and screw it all up and that these are not necessarily happening in order. I wonder if you have an amazing date or a horrible date with one person. For some people, like not for everybody, but for some particular people, I wonder how likely it is for them to carry that into their next date. So, because he had a great date with Faye, let's say Sierra actually was second, does that bring him into his date with Sierra in that much of a better mood to make that much of a better impression, to make a better or smoother transition and date? I don't know. You just have to think about it, right? And the first thing I notice with Sierra is he does the exact same line that he gave to Faye. He walks in and immediately starts complimenting her voice. You have the best voice I've ever heard.
Hello, Jack.
Oh my God, you've got a nice voice.
Oh, thank you.
So the date goes off very smoothly. They chat. She's vegan. He will cook her anything. He describes their perfect first date and what he would do and how he loves doing acts of service and touch as his love language. And as he's getting up to walk out, we notice a very, very familiar pattern start to evolve.
Right, I love you. What?
I have to say, everything I once found endearing about Jack, I now find to be a red flag, and I've been given the ick. The next thing we get a glimpse of, as it appears that Kiera, sorry, I think I called her Sierra first, Kiera and Faye are apparently becoming fast friends.
That's such a good date, though.
And we also get a very interesting edit about Kiera, real quick. She's got standards. A girl has standards and a spend limit.
We used to have a £300 minimum spend. A guy won't spend £15,000 on a first date. Your standards high, girlies, like high. Because if they want to, they will.
We go on to follow Kiera a little bit, and she outlines that she has standards, she has boundaries, she is expensive to maintain, and so she's not going to let a guy off easily in order to maintain all of this. Like, she's like, this costs money to maintain. He's got to be able to afford it. And so, I am not going to demonize her for that. The way they started it, they kind of made her feel a little bit shallow. But then I had to think about it and like check myself for a minute there. And I'm just like, no, wait. They keep telling us to lower our standards. I still have PTSD for Married at First Sight, and I'm not giving her the Nikki treatment. If she has standards, if she has boundaries, if she knows that she spends a lot to maintain it, she knows that she requires somebody that's going to be able to add to her life and not take away. I'm not going to jump on the today, as of right now, I'm not going to jump on the shallow girl bandwagon. I'm going to hear her out. She could have a very good soul.
I am expensive, so I like to get a little something in return. I would want a certain lifestyle. I have been cheated on. It took me a while to work through that and find myself again. That person who's going to be my biggest support, my cheerleader, so we can build a life and eventually build family.
Next, we see Kira date AJ, and he's a former banking associate. He's previously in banking. What's really cute is that her and AJ, they start chatting a little bit about their background, and she mentions that she is he asks, and she mentions that she is a Pilates instructor, and he talks about his career path, how he is a former basketballer. He used to be in sports. Then he went into finance and banking, and now apparently he's working on his Pilates certification, which I think is cute. Like, their lives are kind of aligning, and he mentions that there's not enough men in Pilates, and I would have to agree. Not that I've ever done Pilates, but you never ever hear of or really see a lot of men in Pilates. But again, that might not be my little algorithmic circle. Perhaps I just don't know that they exist. So she kind of talks to him a little bit about lifestyle. Like, do you like the finer things in life? Obviously digging. She's like, I don't want to scrub. So how scrubby are you on a scale of 1 to TLC? And he's saying, he's a little bit desensitized, but like he likes fine things. He likes to dress well. And then she goes into the exes question. They both talk about they had a somewhat long-term relationship that they've been out of each for a couple of years now. He says his ended pretty okay and hers ended pretty messily, but they're both ready to find their forever person. After the date with AJ, they are showing a little catch up in the respective rooms. AJ is saying how much he is enjoying like the dating process and how he's just following the process, trusting the process. But then we flip over to the women's room for just a little bit of mess. Kiera is debriefing the other women on her dates and talking about her top two right now, AJ and Jack. However, her new bestie, Faye, also in the little circle. So she's talking about how Jack is her like other runner. And kind of jokingly, he's already said he loves me. I held my breath, but Faye was a good girly and pointed out he said that to me as well. He also told me that he loved me as well. Now, is this starting mess? Maybe, but as somebody like we have all known and we have all now become wiser and we have all gone and started to learn that we need to compare notes with these fuckboys. And while it might hurt in the moment, I really think that she is doing her a favor in the long run. I liked Jack. He got one over on me as well. But I got to see that that was just his MO and it was not a cute and endearing quirk. And I would want to know. He can explain himself. He's a big boy. I would want to know the truth.
He told me he loved me, jokingly, but like... You said that to me as well.
Next, we get to start following Chevanique. She is a sexual health nurse. And she seems pretty sweet. She's saying that she loves going out, she loves having a good time, but there are no husbands on the dance floor.
But there's no husband material at the club at all.
I think me being an independent woman can be quite intimidating to guys.
So finally, we get to settle in with Chevanique and on a date with Joseph. So we get to follow their date. They have they have a great date, but it isn't spectacular when we see some of the other ones. They seem to have like some chemistry and some aligned goals, but like it wasn't as charismatic and electric as others. But it was a good date. It was a solid date. They formed a bond over their shared religion, and then we get to follow Joseph onto his next date with Francesca. We found out that Francesca lives in Lusham, which is basically where Joseph was born and raised. So they immediately start bonding over that. So Joseph and Francesca, they also bond quite well as well. She is Catholic and he's more Pentecostal, so they have the slight misalignment, but they both do attribute like a lot of their success. They have a great relationship with God. And so they do still share that. We'll have to wait and see how seriously either of them take that misalignment and where that leads to. But they have a great first date. But again, not quite as spectacular and magical. Although I'm not going to put that as necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes you don't want to be dazzled by that like instant crazy chemistry. Sometimes it's nice to just get to know somebody honestly and then get to know them better without having all of that like rush of adrenaline. He does admit that he's nervous and he keeps like stuttering over his words. But I'm excited about both of these relationships because they just feel very genuine and authentic. In her little confessional afterwards, Francesca says something that every single girly nowadays, actually just every woman in general can like sympathize and feel like deep in the bottom of their soul.
Dating is awful. I hate it. I'd go out, find someone, and then first day, I'm like, I'm in love with you. And then 6 months down the line, Jekyll and Hyde.
Next up, we get Sophie and Taylor, and they both seem to be extremely extroverted. Maybe that's what I'm misreading for this big connection, for this like charismatic connection that I just didn't see in the last couple of couples. They have a lot of banter back and forth. There's like no kind of downtime in the conversation, and they seem to be getting along so effortlessly. They have a very cute date. She admits that she can't cook and he can. He promises to take her to a cooking class for their very first date. And she's like, "Nah, I don't see a problem with that because I have no intention on learning, but I will wash your underpants." So I feel like that is a very decent solution, compromise. But the date ends well regardless. We then pick up with Kiera. I'm gonna get her name Kiera. The C drives me off. We get in with Kiera, and she is talking about how AJ and Jack are her number one and two, and that she has this deeper connection with AJ, but she has a more fun, charismatic connection with Jack. So we follow her into a date with AJ, and they're really kind of bonding over their immigration stories of their families, the hard work that's been instilled with them, their shared values in that sense. And it's actually really touching.
So it's just like if you're gonna do something, you're gonna do it
You're gonna
properly, and
do
that's
it.
the only way it's gonna go.
I think my dad also he really instilled values in as
Yeah.
well.
AJ goes on to talk in the men's room as well as in a little bit of a confessional about how much he's into Kiera and how she really does have a lot of the values that he's looking for in a wife and in a family part in a life partner. Next, we see Kiera go in for her date with Jack, and they really still have this surface level silly connection. There's a lot of chemistry there, but they're not really getting into a really deep conversation. Not yet. Not at this point, anyways. They have quite a conversation about intimacy and stuff like that, and he is still being very silly, kissing her through the screen and such. But I think she likes that. We go on to find out that Jack actually has ADHD, so he's a little neurospicy, but he's aware of that. And because of that, he really wants to, instead of being all over the place like he knows he can sometimes be, he wants to start focusing in on the right girl at the right time. So he wants to spend this next day kind of feeling out where the other girls stand and starting to eliminate people who aren't really into him so that what he can focus on people who are actually interested in him instead of wasting his energy.
I have ADHD. I struggle with actually focusing, so I want to invest my energy somewhere that it's going to be reciprocated.
We then see him go into a date with Faye, and he has kind of hinted at, or at least the edit has hinted at, Kiera and Faye being his top two. He doesn't actually say it, so we're not entirely sure, but it's heavily insinuated. And they actually do get into a good, deeper relationship, or not relationship, conversation. After, of course, he teases about dreaming with her. Faye talks about past relationships and how she was really taken advantage of and walked all over in past relationships, and that has caused her to kind of take a step back from dating, and how her last major relationship, she was actually the side chick and she didn't even know about it. She wanted to go visit him and he's like, "You can't come visit me. My girlfriend's here." They really do seem to have this authentic, genuine relationship. It's not all filled with innuendo. They're able to have these deeper conversations as well as, get to the actual meat of it. He flat out asks, "Are you ranking me as much high as I'm ranking you?" And, they kind of agree. They have those kind of honest conversations, and it's adorable. So now you can kind of see the backlash from him making those "I love you" comments to both Faye and Kiera, because she is a little bit hesitant. She doesn't want to be, liking somebody who's just saying that to all of the girls. So she's very aware of the fact that he did kind of make a couple of promises, maybe. Kind of crossed a line with a couple of girls. Then we get to follow up with Francesca, and she is really, really looking for that forever mate. She says she wants a passport dad. She wants somebody who's 100% involved and present, and he is on top of things. She will not settle for anything less, and she follows up with her date with Joseph, and it does begin swimmingly. There's a lot of laughing, there's a lot of chatting, and they seem to really have charisma. They get into talking about past relationships, and Francesca says that she was cheated on in her past relationship, and that, left some scars. But she is not letting that deter her. She wants to settle down. She wants to be married. she asks him flat out, like, "Are you actually ready to get married? Like, are you getting down on one knee?" And he says that he is. They also get deeper and start talking about their insecurities, and I appreciate this conversation because they are, like, getting into the nitty-gritty of who am I really, like, underneath all of these layers. Joseph, in his confessional, does mention about vulnerability is tough for him, and he wants to let those walls down, but he's a little bit afraid sometimes. So hopefully he can find, or Francesca maybe, will be somebody that actually helps him to pull those walls down. We do go on into the men's lounge, and Joseph says that he is really, really into Francesca, but he still really had a great impression on him from Chevanique, and we followed them into the date next. And they do have this light, fluffy, fun kind of relationship. They do seem to have some chemistry, but again, it's much more surface level. They're talking about like what they would do if they saw each other in public and stuff like that, but they're not getting deeper. They seem to have like a relationship that is based a little bit more on flirts and innuendos. And so you can kind of start to see these two types of relationships with each of the people that we're kind of following. We go into confessional with Chevanique, and she talks about how easy and effortless their relationship is, and that she doesn't really question it. She's just going with it. She likes it. It's fun, it's flirty. She knows that he's into her, and it's nice. We go into a confessional with Francesca, and she's talking about how she is really into Joseph, and nobody else is talking about him, so she thinks that's a really good sign, but we know that he does have another connection. We pick up again with Taylor and Sophie, and he talks about how their relationship or their connection is effortless and they are really getting on very well. Their relationship, although effortless and fun, goes right into a lot of innuendo. They are really talking about the physical aspect of the relationship. They haven't gotten so much into the like emotional aspect. I'm going to be honest, I almost forgot this couple even existed. I don't know why. But yeah, he goes straight into like, no, there's no honeymoon period. There's no waiting period. We're getting into bed. We're getting down bad immediately, multiple times a day. And she just kind of laughs it off. Hopefully she's also into it. Sophie, in a confessional, talks a little bit about her connection with Taylor and how much she really kind of enjoys it. It's very flirty, very, very like makes her hot. It definitely is a lot of fun. We then catch up with Faye and Kiera and some other ladies in the women's lounge, and they are talking about Jack. Like, this is going to cause problems between the two of them because they just talk about him so openly. Faye talks about him dreaming about her and her long blonde hair and yada, yada, yada. And now, so let's see if he tells Kiera the same thing, because that would be hilarious if he pulls that same line on her as well. Now, Kiera goes into her next date. It is not, in fact, Jack. Instead, it is AJ. And she's absolutely ecstatic. They start talking about like their ideal date, like where that he would take her on her first date. And it's really fun. Like they have a lot of shared experiences that are obviously independent because they've never met each other. AJ mentions to Kiera that she is so high on her list and he knows that she has another connection and kind of asks her for some reassurance on that connection. Is this somebody that I'm going to lose you to, basically? Or like, what's going on there? And she says, like, we do have a vibe, like, we do have something going on. I do enjoy his company, but I have been looking forward to seeing you all day. And I was thinking about you last night. Like, you are very special to me. So I like that she did kind of welcome that bid for reassurance. And he took it really well. Like, he did not come off weirdly jealous at all. Next, we have Jack and Kiera again. And they're trying to get deep, but it's still very surface level things. They're talking about like what they like and they're talking about what their love languages are, but they're not really talking about any of those like fundamental things like your values, your core beliefs, like your core boundaries that would really take a relationship to the next level. So Jack, as he said earlier in the episode, he does say like, I'm really kind of into you and I want to know if I'm ranked as high for you as you are for me so that I can focus my energy. Again, I he doesn't sugarcoat it. He doesn't kind of fluff it up any more than that. Like he's very honest and vulnerable. I love seeing this in these men. I wonder if this is like an European thing versus like a North American thing, because the men on this show, very different. Like I feel like a lot of the men that are in like the US version are not as openly authentic and vulnerable. I mean, just a culturally different way. I don't feel like there have been very many of those conversations that were not guarded or defensive in the past seasons. So we do cut away to the men's lounge, and then we can start seeing the rivalry in the men's side start to develop. So obviously between Jack and AJ, they did come across as friendly earlier, but now they're both after Kiera. So we'll see how that relationship continues, because he does not look too happy seeing Jack come out of his date with Kiera with her ranking him highly.
Like, how did potentially I get it so wrong that that's more her type than me? Me and Jack, two very different people. It's making me question, like, how did potentially I get it so wrong that that's more her type than me? I don't tolerate being second best. I'm no one side.
So, all in all, great first episode. It's interesting that we're having like the same kind of couple having the conflicts on either side. We're starting to watch some rivalries form. I don't know. I'm excited. Like I said, I have not watched a UK version before. I am already noticing some of the cultural differences and I'm liking them. It brings a fresh new feel to the show. It's not the same kind of things that you can expect that's going to happen in the North American version. Or maybe I am just looking at through rose-colored glasses. I don't know. Let me know what you think of the season so far in the comments below. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye.